Hello, I'm Tukung. Today I made a video related to defensive familiar. Defensive familiar are mainly used in PvP or familiar arena. In particular, in the case of a melee attack character that is a tanker's position, a destroyer or a swordman, it is mainly used in PvP contents such as Lavavalley and Relic War. In this video, we will show you how to play PvP content using 4 defensive familias: Stagthorn, Molten Lion, CrabO, and Rimu. First, let's look at the skills of the defensive familiar. The passive skills of the defensive familiar have in common that the amount of damage received is reduced for each number of companions of the defensive familiar. And it's best to use it after 7 awakening, as the damage reduction value increases when the awakened tier reaches 3 and 7. If 3 familiar became 7 awakened, the damage received would be reduced by 27%. First, if you look at Molten Lion's active skill, he has an immortal effect. Therefore, in the case of Molten Lion, it is best to use it when a player's HP is low. Also, in the case of the immortal skill, the duration increases as the awake tier rises, so when reaching 10 awake tier, the immortality effect is applied for 5 seconds. Next up is Stagthorn. Stagthorn's passive skills increase resistance to knockdown, suppression, shock, and knockback. Again, resistivity increases at tier 3 and at tier 7, and reaching tier 7 will reduce resistivity to 50%. Stagthorn achieves 7 awakens, as it usually has a lot of knockdown and stun effects, and if the immortal helmet gets higher than 7 awakens, it will be able to resist most fall effects. Stagthorn's active skills are damage reduction and reflection skills. When using a skill, the damage is reduced, and the reduced amount of damage is returned to the enemy. Also has a 10% chance to stun enemies. However, the stun rarely triggers, so don't expect too much. Next up is CrabO. CrabO's passive effect is increased critical resistance. By default, it has a critical resistance of 15%, increasing to 22.5% at 3 awake and 30% at 7 awaking. CrabO's companion active skill is invincible. Also, HP potion and heal recovery amount increases during skill use time, and familiar skill damage also increases. CrabO's active skill is invincible for 2 seconds at 0 awake tier, and the duration increases by 0.1 seconds for every 1 awakened tier rises. So, even if the awakened tier is low, it's a pretty useful familiar. Next up is Rimu. Unlike other defensive types, Rimu applies a passive skill that reduces damage received from players. Even if you do not accompany 3 defensive familiar, the damage reduction effect increases by 6% at 3 awakening and 9% at 7 awakening, so it can be used together with other offensive familiar. It also increases your stun resistance by 50% during 7 awakening, and when used with an immortal helmet, you can resist most stun effects. Rimu's companion active skill is an offensive skill unlike other defensive types. When used, it attacks enemies within a certain range and blocks the opponent's familiar for 5 seconds. First of all, I explained about the 4 familia. You can use the appropriate combination of the 4 familiar according to the situation. Now, let's watch the Lavavalley video. In Lavavalley, using a Rimu instead of a CrabO, the stun resistance when attacked by 3 players didn't mean much and didn't last long. Therefore, the battle was conducted using CrabO. I used Stagthorn's damage reduction skill, CrabO's invincible skill, and Molten Lion's immortality skill to take a tank position. In the beginning, I used Stagthorn's skill first and rushed to the enemy with the damage reduction effect applied. Reduce damage taken by the damage reduction effect, making it easier to use CrabO's invincible skill. Afterwards, if 2 or more players attacked me, I used CrabO's skill to negate the enemy's skill. And just before the end of CrabO's skill's duration, I used Molten Ryan's immortality skill to continue surviving and get attacked by the enemy. After that, I played Lavavalley by receiving the recovery skill of the engineer, the party member, and proceeding with the battle again. Again, if the enemy mainly attacked me, there was a high probability of winning the battle. On the other hand, if the enemy attacks other party members behind you without attacking you, the probability of winning the battle is reduced. It was not easy to kill the enemy quickly because I set up a tank position and proceeded with the battle. However, I was able to feel a different kind of fun because it was different from the usual battles using attack type familiar. I will continue to show you the Lavavalley play video. Also, behind the video, there's a play video of Sky Island content, a content that exists only on the Korea server.